First Contact and Fatal Assumptions. The Nexarian Empire's flagship, Celestial Order, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline structure refracting starlight in precise mathematical patterns. High Commander Xylax stood at the observation deck, his iridescent scales shifting colors as he processed the initial scan data of the unremarkable solar system. Science Officer Rena, your preliminary assessment. Xylax's voice resonated through the chamber's perfect acoustics, designed for optimal sound transmission. Rena, her tentacular sensory arrays pulsing with collected data, moved forward with practiced precision. The third planet shows signs of civilization, High Commander. Primitive by our standards. They've barely reached their own moon. She projected a holographic display of Earth's current technological status, carefully categorized and color-coded according to Nexarian scientific protocols. Their defensive capabilities? Xylax inquired, his 4 secondary eyes focusing on the detailed military analysis while his primary pair remained fixed on the floating blue marble in the distance. Chemical propulsion weapons, nuclear deterrence, and a fragmented global defense system. Nothing that could challenge our quantum-locked shields. Rena's tentacles wove through the holographic display, highlighting key strategic points. They still fight among themselves over arbitrary geographical boundaries. The bridge crew maintained their positions in perfect geometric formation, each member a cog in the vast machine of Nexarian military efficiency. They had conquered 17 systems in the past solar cycle, each victory achieved through carefully calculated strategies and superior technology. Prepare the standard conquest protocol, Xylax commanded, his scales shifting to the deep purple of tactical consideration. Begin with psychological warfare pattern Delta 7. What the Nexarians couldn't know was that Dr. Leah Winters, Earth's leading quantum physicist, was about to accidentally discover something remarkable while testing a new coffee machine in her underground laboratory. The device, through a series of improbable events involving spilled coffee and a quantum resonance scanner, would reveal the presence of the Nexarian fleet hours before their planned reveal. Director Harrison, Leah's voice cracked with excitement as she contacted the Global Defense Initiative, you need to see this. The coffee machine, it's showing ships. Massive ships, just outside Mars' orbit. Dr. Winters, Harrison replied with characteristic dry humor, have you been working for 72 hours straight again? Trust me, sir. The quantum interference patterns are unlike anything we've ever seen. They're trying to hide, but they're causing ripples in spacetime that my coffee machine can somehow detect. The discovery spread through Earth's scientific community like wildfire. Within hours, the Global Defense Initiative had confirmed the presence of the alien fleet through other means, and a plan was already forming, one that would challenge everything the Nexarians thought they knew about warfare. As Xylax prepared to initiate the first phase of psychological warfare, he received a message that defied all Nexarian protocols. It was being broadcast on all frequencies, in perfect Nexarian language. Greetings, visitors. We thought we'd save you the trouble of the whole mysterious signs thing. Would you like to discuss your intentions over a cup of coffee? We make a killer espresso. The message was signed, Humanity, that primitive species you thought wouldn't notice you. Xylax's scales shifted to the pale yellow of confusion. This wasn't in any of their conquest manuals. How had they been detected? And what in the cosmos was espresso? Little did the Nexarians know, but their perfectly ordered world was about to collide with humanity's greatest weapon, their ability to turn chaos into opportunity. And it all started with a malfunctioning coffee machine and a physicist who hadn't slept in 3 days. The paradox of human innovation. High Commander Xylax's scales flickered between shades of confusion as he reviewed the latest tactical reports. Nothing about Earth's defense strategy aligned with any known military doctrine in the galaxy. The humans were fighting back, yes, but their methods defied all logic and prediction algorithms. Science Officer Rena, he called out, his voice tight with frustration, explain how they're blocking our quantum-locked shields with, what did you call it? Rena's tentacles twisted in embarrassment as she displayed the analysis. "They're using modified microwave frequencies, sir. Apparently derived from their primitive food heating devices. Dr. Leah Winters and her team discovered that our shield harmonics resonate at exactly the same frequency they use to heat something called leftover pizza." The Celestial Order shuddered as another wave of repurposed microwave energy washed over its hull. Across the fleet, shield generators were failing not from brute force, but from what seemed to be cooking appliances turned into weapons. Meanwhile, in the underground facility dubbed the kitchen by its occupants, Dr. Leah Winters was experiencing her 9th caffeine-induced epiphany of the day. "Director Harrison," she called out, her hands flying over holographic controls, "what if we combine the quantum resonance from my coffee machine with the microwave defense system?" Director Harrison, who had long since learned to trust Leah's sleep-deprived insights, raised an eyebrow. "The same coffee machine that detected their fleet?" "Exactly. Their technology operates on perfect quantum harmonics. But what happens to a perfect system when you introduce a little chaos?" Leah's eyes gleamed with the particular madness that came from too much coffee and not enough sleep. In orbit, the Nexarian fleet maintained their mathematically perfect formation, a testament to their species' dedication to order. Xylax was preparing to launch their next calculated attack when Officer Rena's tentacles suddenly went rigid with alarm. "High Commander, I'm detecting a strange quantum disruption. It's completely random, yet somehow coherent. That shouldn't be possible." Her sensory arrays were pulsing with conflicting data. The disruption expanded, creating waves of quantum instability that played havoc with the Nexarians' precise technology. Ships began to drift out of formation as their positioning systems received contradictory information. "What are they using to cause this?" Xylax demanded, his scales now a deep crimson of alarm. "Sir, you won't believe this," Rena's voice carried a note of disbelief, "but it appears to be coming from a beverage preparation device." On Earth, Leah watched with satisfaction as her quantum coffee chaos generator did its work. The device, cobbled together from her original coffee machine and several microwave emitters, was pumping out waves of perfectly imperfect quantum interference. "The beauty of it," she explained to Harrison, who was watching the alien fleet's formation dissolve into disarray, "is that they can't adapt to it. Their entire technology is based on quantum precision. They literally cannot compute randomness at this scale." The Nexarian fleet's response was to launch their automated combat drones, each one programmed with perfect attack patterns based on countless successful conquests. But Earth was ready for this too. Colonel Samira Patel, commander of Earth's hastily assembled Drone Defense Division, had prepared a counter that once again defied conventional military logic. As the Nexarian drones approached Earth's atmosphere, they were met not with anti-aircraft fire, but with thousands of small autonomous units that Earth civilians used for package delivery and food service. "Release the delivery bots," Samira commanded, a slight smirk playing on her lips. The Nexarian drones, programmed to respond to military threats, were completely confused by the swarm of small robots whose primary programming was to ensure customer satisfaction. The delivery bots, reprogrammed to treat the alien drones as customers with extreme delivery challenges, proceeded to attempt package delivery with relentless determination. "Their combat AI is crashing," Rena reported, her tentacles writhing in distress. "The drones can't process being treated as customers." Xylax watched in horror as his perfect attack force was reduced to chaos by robots offering them free delivery subscription trials and asking for 5-star ratings. "This defies all combat logic," he muttered, his scales shifting to a previously unknown shade of bewilderment. Back in the kitchen, Leah was already working on her next idea, her coffee machine humming ominously beside her. "Director Harrison," she called out, her voice carrying that dangerous tone of inspiration, "what do you know about quantum entangled cat videos?" Harrison sighed deeply. Humanity's defense strategy was proving to be as effective as it was bizarre, but he couldn't help wondering if they were taking thinking outside the box a bit too literally. Still, as he watched the mighty Nexarian fleet being thoroughly discombobulated by Earth's combination of scientific innovation and everyday technology, he had to admit, sometimes the best defense was pure, unadulterated human weirdness. Breaking protocol. The emergency meeting of the Nexarian High Command was not going well. High Commander Xylax stood before the holographic council, his scales cycling through various shades of distress as he attempted to explain Earth's inexplicable defense strategies. "You mean to tell us," Supreme Counselor Ven's image flickered with disapproval, "that their primary defensive technology is based on beverage preparation equipment? And delivery services," Xylax added weakly, his secondary eyes fixed on the data streams showing yet another squadron of combat drones being overwhelmed by persistent delivery bots offering them promotional codes. Science Officer Rena stepped forward, her tentacles displaying complex data patterns. "The humans appear to operate on a principle we've termed controlled chaos. They're taking ordinary objects and repurposing them in ways that completely circumvent our advanced technology." Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Dr. Leah Winters was introducing her latest innovation to Director Harrison and Colonel Patel. "I call it the quantum meme cannon," she announced, gesturing to what appeared to be a jury-rigged assembly of social media servers and quantum processors. "Let me get this straight," Harrison pinched the bridge of his nose, "you're planning to attack their communication systems with internet culture? Their entire society is based on order and protocol," Leah explained, her coffee cup dangerously empty. "What better way to disrupt that than with humanity's most chaotic creation, memes?" Colonel Patel's eyes lit up. "The psychological warfare potential is fascinating. Their rigid minds might actually crash trying to understand why humans find pictures of cats with misspelled captions so entertaining." Aboard the Celestial Order, Officer Rena's warning came too late. "High Commander, they're broadcasting some kind of cultural data packet directly into our neural networks." The ship's communication systems were suddenly flooded with an endless stream of cat videos, dancing babies, and inexplicable human humor. The crew's perfectly ordered minds struggled to process why humans would waste time creating millions of variations of the same joke, or why a video of a small animal being startled by a cucumber would be considered entertainment. "Make it stop," a junior officer pleaded, his scales flashing in distress as he tried to comprehend why humans were so obsessed with something called Rick-rolling. But the true breaking point came when Earth's hackers, led by the brilliant but eccentric Raj Patel, no relation to Colonel Patel, managed to infiltrate the Nexarian battle network. Instead of destroying it, they simply introduced small elements of chaos into the system. Ship designations were randomly replaced with internet usernames. Critical mission briefings began including emojis. The fleet's perfect geometric formations were occasionally interrupted by ships programmed to perform synchronized dance moves from viral videos. "This is unprecedented," Supreme Counselor Ven declared, watching as the once mighty Nexarian fleet descended into confusion. "Their chaos is infectious." The situation deteriorated further when some younger Nexarian crew members began to find the human content entertaining. Reports surfaced of officers secretly watching cat videos during their rest cycles. Someone had taught the ship's AI to respond to commands with "OK Boomer." "High Commander," Rena reported, her tentacles twitching with suppressed amusement, "I'm detecting unauthorized meme creation among the junior ranks. They're making jokes about our invasion plans." Xylax stared at the latest tactical display, which someone had modified to include cartoon sound effects. His scales shifted to a color that could only be described as existential crisis. How do you fight an enemy that turns warfare into entertainment? On Earth, Leah was already working on her next project, this time involving something she called TikTok Tactical. Harrison didn't even bother asking for details anymore. He just made sure she had enough coffee and watched as humanity's seemingly random approach to defense continued to unravel the galaxy's most organized military force. "You know," Colonel Patel mused, watching the Nexarian fleet's increasingly erratic behavior, we might be the first species to win a war with viral content and food delivery services. Speaking of delivery, Raj chimed in through the comm system, I just programmed all their replicators to only produce something called pineapple pizza. According to their communications, it's causing quite the philosophical crisis. The Symphony of Chaos. As the Nexarian fleet struggled to maintain order, Earth's defense took an unexpected artistic turn. Dr. Leah Winters, running on her 48th cup of coffee, had made an astounding discovery while analyzing the Nexarian ship's quantum resonance patterns. They're like musical notes, she explained to her increasingly bewildered audience. Their entire fleet operates on harmonics that are essentially a very rigid symphony. Director Harrison, who had long since given up on expecting conventional military strategies, simply nodded. And this helps us how? We can introduce discord, Colonel Patel interjected, catching on to Leah's idea. If their ships operate on perfect harmony. We hit them with jazz, Leah finished, her eyes gleaming with caffeine-fueled inspiration. Raj's fingers were already flying over his keyboard. I'm converting Earth's entire musical database into quantum frequencies. Classical, rock, hip-hop, but especially jazz. Nothing says chaos like improvised bebop solos. Aboard the Celestial Order, High Commander Xylax was dealing with a new crisis. What do you mean, the ships are dancing? His scales had taken on a previously undocumented color of exasperation. Science Officer Rena's tentacles twisted in confusion as she displayed the fleet's movement patterns. The humans are broadcasting some kind of temporal spatial disruption wave. It's affecting our quantum harmonics. The ships are, well, they appear to be moving in response to something called funk. The once perfect formation of the Nexarian fleet had transformed into what looked suspiciously like an interstellar dance party. Ships swayed to Earth's music, their precise movements replaced by rhythmic wobbles and unexpected spins. Sir, a junior officer reported, their scales pulsing in time with the beat, were detecting increased serotonin levels throughout the crew. They're enjoying this? The situation reached new levels of chaos when Raj discovered he could make the ship's external lights flash in sync with Earth's most popular dance tracks. The resulting space disco was visible from 3 solar systems away. The humans have weaponized joy, Rena observed, watching as crew members across the fleet began requesting what they called song recommendations. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Leah was putting the finishing touches on her masterpiece. We're combining everything we've learned, she explained, her hands moving across holographic controls. Quantum coffee resonance, meme energy, and now music. I call it the Symphony of Disorder. That's not a very scientific name, Harrison noted. I've been awake for 5 days, Leah shrugged. Creative naming requires sleep. The device powered up, sending waves of perfectly imperfect quantum harmonics into space. Each wave carried a different element of Earth's chaos, snippets of songs, fragments of memes, bits of random conversations, and the underlying resonance of billions of coffee machines. The effect on the Nexarian fleet was immediate and unprecedented. Ships began moving in patterns that defied both physics and logic. Crew members reported experiencing something they called groove, a concept entirely alien to their species. The strict hierarchy of command began to dissolve as officers and crew alike found themselves caught up in humanity's infectious chaos. High Commander, Rena reported, her tentacles swaying slightly to the beat, I believe we may have fundamentally misunderstood the humans' power. Their strength isn't in their technology or their weapons. It's in their ability to find joy in disorder, to create beauty from chaos. Xylax, watching his fleet transform into what could only be described as an impromptu space rave, felt something strange happening to his own thought patterns. The rigid structure of Nexarian military doctrine was being replaced by something new, something that felt surprisingly fun. Sir, a communication officer called out, their scales flashing in excitement, we're receiving thousands of requests from the crew. They want to know if humans have more of this music thing, and something called dance tutorials. In that moment, as Earth's greatest defense turned out to be its culture, art, and inherent randomness, Xylax realized that perhaps their initial assessment of humanity had been completely wrong. They weren't primitive at all, they were simply operating on a level of existence that the Nexarians, with all their order and protocol, had never even imagined possible. Evolution through understanding. The final turning point in Earth's first interstellar conflict came not with a bang, but with an invitation. Dr. Leah Winters, finally succumbing to the need for sleep after her 6th consecutive breakthrough, had one last idea. "We should invite them for coffee," she mumbled, head down on her desk surrounded by empty cups and quantum equations. Director Harrison exchanged looks with Colonel Patel and Raj. After everything that had happened, the quantum coffee chaos, the delivery bot warfare, the weaponized memes, and the great space disco, this somehow made perfect sense. "You know," Raj mused, "their replicators are still stuck on pineapple pizza. They must be getting hungry for something else by now." On the Celestial Order, High Commander Xylax was facing a peculiar kind of mutiny. His crew, exposed to weeks of human culture and chaos, had begun questioning the very foundations of Nexarian society. The ship's recreation rooms were full of officers attempting to master something called breakdancing. The command neural network was clogged with shared cat videos. Someone had started a ship-wide debate about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. "Sir," Science Officer Rena approached, her tentacles forming patterns that somehow resembled a shrug, "we've received a transmission from Earth. They're inviting us to something called brunch." Xylax, his scales shifting through colors that reflected his internal conflict, realized that his options had become limited. The fleet's perfect order had been irreversibly disrupted by human chaos. Half his crew was more interested in creating memes than maintaining military protocol. And if he was being honest with himself, he too had begun to find these human concepts intriguing. "Supreme Counselor Ven won't like this," he muttered, but activated the communication channel anyway. The first official meeting between humans and Nexarians took place in a hastily renovated coffee shop outside the kitchen's compound. Dr. Winters, having finally gotten some sleep, was explaining the concept of coffee to a fascinated group of Nexarian scientists, their tentacles waving in excitement as they analyzed the drink's quantum properties. "You mean you intentionally consume a substance that increases neural chaos?" Rena asked, her sensory arrays trying to process the implications. "Not just consume it, we depend on it," Leah grinned, starting her first cup of the day. "Sometimes the best solutions come when your thoughts aren't running in straight lines." Nearby, Raj was showing a group of young Nexarian officers something called social media, while Colonel Patel discussed the tactical advantages of improvisation with some military commanders. Director Harrison found himself explaining human humor to Supreme Counselor Ven, who had arrived in person after the reports became too bizarre to ignore. "So the humor comes from the unexpected connection between unrelated concepts?" Ven's scales shifted thoughtfully as he studied a collection of memes. "That's part of it," Harrison nodded. "Though sometimes things are funny precisely because they don't make sense." High Commander Xylax, watching his species interact with humans, realized that they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. The Nexarians had come to conquer a primitive world and instead found themselves being transformed by it. "Perhaps," he said to no one in particular, his scales showing a new color that might have been wisdom, "true advancement comes not from imposing order on chaos, but from learning to dance with it." The Nexarian invasion ended not with surrender or victory, but with cultural exchange programs. Earth gained access to advanced quantum technology, while the Nexarians learned about music, art, and the joy of unplanned moments. Coffee shops began appearing on Nexarian worlds, becoming centers of innovation as the species learned to embrace a little chaos in their perfect order. Dr. Leah Winters went on to win the Nobel Prize for her work in quantum cultural integration theory, though she insisted that sleep deprivation and coffee deserved most of the credit. Raja's interstellar meme database became the galaxy's most popular cultural archive. Colonel Patel established the first human Nexarian defense initiative, specializing in unconventional tactical thinking. And somewhere in the vast bureaucracy of the Nexarian Empire, a new regulation was added: when encountering human chaos, don't try to impose order. Join the dance instead. Years later, when asked about the invasion that became a renaissance, Director Harrison would always say the same thing: turns out the best defense against an advanced alien civilization wasn't our weapons or technology. It was our ability to make them question why they needed so much order in the first place. The Great Earth Nexarian Incident became a lesson for other spacefaring races: never underestimate a species that can turn their daily beverages into quantum weapons, their delivery services into defense systems, and their culture into the greatest force for change in the galaxy. And it all started with a malfunctioning coffee machine and a physicist who hadn't slept in 3 days.